I'm not sure why YouTube keeps recommending the relationship videos to me like I'm some sort of pickup artist or some sort of good-looking guy that's good with women. I'm not. Someone while I was at Trader Joe's today asked me, "How do you get women?" And I'm like, "I don't." The last person that you should be taking relationship advice is from a guy like me who hasn't really been on a romantic date since he was a young man, probably early 20s. I think 22 might have been the last time I had, like, I would call long term fling for a few months where I she didn't like to be called a girlfriend because she liked getting it on with lots of dudes, but I was still on the menu. But guys like me don't do well with women. In fact, last week when I went to go talk to receptionist girl number two, she made it clear that she had a boyfriend, a guy that was giving her the in and out. But regardless of it, I talked to her for, I don't know, about 15 to 20 minutes every time I see her. And she's very receptive to what I say. I'm not certain why, because there's a reason why proletariat men and proletariat women they don't like being around each other because when you look at what an actual poor person does and looks like and the things that they talk about and you see yourself reflected in that person. This is why I I don't like Gen Zero. I see so much of his anti woman rhetoric every day. Like I look at him and he's behaving and saying things that I say. And when you're going to look at the other proletariat, you don't want to believe that you're part of them. You don't want to believe that you're that much of a loser. But the reality is, just because you don't want to see it doesn't mean you aren't it. Like going back to the metaphor of the hot coffee earlier this week, just because you decide to have a positive attitude and think everything in life is great and that everything's coming up rainbows, and I just saw a bumper sticker that said good vibes and good friends or something to that effect, right? And I'm just like throwing up in my mouth because I'm thinking it's some entitled white rich girl driving that super jacked up Jeep that her dad bought her. Because there's no way someone that young can afford to drive a vehicle that expensive. It's just a status symbol. But when it comes to dating, I mean, I think most men have very small energy. When I worked at Walmart, the only guys that didn't fear rejection were guys that had nothing to lose. I'm not going to mention anything about them specifically other than there was a certain type of guy that would just come in and just start talking to every woman in the store until he got a phone number. And then he probably took that Susie Rottencrotch back to his dorm and gave her the old uh, time. Let's just call it that. But with that said, let's get into today's written monologue. You know, people often talk about confidence like it's some kind of magic trick. Like the louder you are or the more you show off, the more people like you. But honestly, that's not what draws people in. Real confidence is quiet, it's steady, it's walking into a room and being okay with who you are, even if the world tells you you're not enough. I don't know why ChatGPT makes things like this. In all honesty, do I believe in anything that I just said? No. Do I believe that there are certain men that women are innately attracted to? Yes. Just like there are certain women that men are attracted to. I mean, I just walked through Trader Joe's and I saw 50 women that were all very physically attractive. At least to me, they were. None of them were perfect, but I know that I would say I wouldn't take me one pearl beer to hop in the sack with any of them. But would they ever talk to me? The only girl that talked to me while I was inside Trader Joe's was the girl that was stocking the freezer, and she just looked at me. We both looked at each other. We both acknowledged two facts. We're both ugly, and we're both poor. And then she smiled and she looked away, and it was a moment we had. That's what happens with the proletariat. Both proletariat women and men acknowledge that we don't really want to take from this pool. The fact that she's working at Trader Joe's goes to show anyone that's working in retail is poor. Maybe their parents might have money, but their wealth is poverty. And the reason you take that job, and again, Trader Joe's is like the king of retail jobs. They actually provide insurance to part time workers. At least that's what my psychology professor told the class, my graduating class of psychology, is that go work at Trader Joe's. They offer benefits. That was the last thing she said before she pushed out all 30 students out into the real world to fail miserably at life. And with that said, let's get into our talking points. This is what it wrote. Bravery is vulnerability. Confidence comes from self acceptance. Authenticity. What is wrong with my ability to speak today? Authenticity is the key to real relationships. I guess I just don't use these types of words, and ChatGPT is throwing me you know it's throwing me a curveball today. Anyhow, I don't believe in any of these things that it wrote. I'm just going to say them out loud and then laugh. Bravery isn't about fearlessness or having all the answers. It's about being vulnerable and showing up as your authentic self. If there's one trait that I've learned over my many years of trying to talk to women, is that they don't like men who are vulnerable. Men who are vulnerable financially, emotionally, or their character shows flaws, they're just not attractive. I remember my friend Brooke in my last year of college. Anytime that I'd show any vulnerability in my personality, I could see she was throwing up in her mouth. It was that bad to her. She didn't like it. It put her off. It made her uncomfortable. Women don't like men with emotional problems. They're already broken enough. Women have enough emotional problems. The last thing that they need to do is get into a relationship with a man that has severe depression, low self esteem, financial problems, lives at home, doesn't have his own car, doesn't have a good job. Bravery isn't about fearlessness. Most men aren't brave. And if you ask any army recruiter right now, getting people to go into the military for Gen Zero is almost impossible. That's why they may have to institute a draft in the coming year because people don't want jobs that are terrible, low paying, base housing sucks, and the wages are terrible. That's not how you attract people to a job unless they already have one factor that is a great indicator as to whether or not they're going to do this. And that's the lack of opportunity. When people go to fight in foreign theaters, it's because they didn't have a choice. No one wants to do that job. But poor people are vulnerable people and they have to take jobs that have stability. Why is stability a word that continually comes back? It's been coming up in all my videos today because I heard it from the school teacher this morning. I don't want a broken man. And a broken man is easily identified by most women. Any broken man that attempts to portray bravery about about being fearless, I don't understand this talking point at all, because women are pre-programmed to sniff out a man that is not going to be a good provider. They may still get knocked up by him, but they are supposed to be very keen to avoid getting into relationships with men that have no stability. They still fall for it every once in a while, but they know it's a key factor in not getting to know them. In fact, this girl that I've been ignoring all day today, one of the things that she dislikes the most about me is that I have no family and no friends. It's Saturday afternoon and I'm sitting here and I've been sitting here in my chair in the dark thinking of video ideas in between going and doing errands. Today I decided that I was going to go I was going to go to the massage place because the normal massage place, because I've been paying membership dues now for 3 months and I'm not using that membership at all because ironically they've fired every single massage therapist that they've had there because the customers don't like them. So today, when I went in to talk to the ladies, they're like, "Well, you haven't been here in 3 months, so none of the people that you've seen before, they don't work here anymore. So if you schedule an appointment, it's going to be with a brand new person." That's that's society right there. It's not something that is growing because people are broke, and it is getting progressively more expensive, as with anything in life. But the point of that was, I went there, then I tanned, then I went to the Asian. I don't know. I'm gonna call it the flop house. And that was strange. In fact, when I was talking to the lady at my normal massage place today, she told me she went to one of those places one time, and when the guy offered her the special treatment and she said no, she got blacklisted, so she couldn't go back there anymore. Anyhow, fun fact. That's what I did today. After that, I went to Trader Joe's and then I came home and I'm about to go to the gym again because this morning I did extra cardio because I was waiting for the school teacher to show up. She's often there exactly when I get there. Today she was late by 20 minutes. So who knows? Probably just a cold or she's avoiding me. More than likely avoiding me. Anyhow, that's what people with zero confidence always come to the conclusion of, that if you don't see someone at a specific time somewhere, they're avoiding you. It's classic. All right, moving on to talking point number two. True confidence isn't tied to material possessions, physical appearance, or social status. Guys with true confidence are going to drive a very nice car. They're going to be good looking guys. They're going to be tall. They're going to be rugged looking. They're going to have muscles and probably tattoos. And their social status will be that of some sort of administrative role. They have all of those things. The people who don't have confidence are living at home, are probably overweight, and their social status is indicated by the fact that they work at Chipotle's and they have been working there since they got out of high school. That's going to be a person stereotypically and that doesn't have anything going on. Because I'll tell you, in all the retail jobs I've ever had, there aren't good looking men working there. In fact, I would say that you have the opposite. Nearly everyone that I've worked with in retail is considered to be unattractive or worse. And by worse, I mean they have personality traits that you wouldn't want to be around. And a lot of people that end up in those jobs are there because no one else will hire them to work in an office. In fact, my coworkers when I worked in retail were always fascinated about where I worked before because all of them have only worked in the three evils, right? Warehouse, retail, and hospitality. Those are by far the most common backgrounds of a person that ends up in retail. That wasn't my background. I'd been at the university for 20 years working towards becoming an academic person. So when you talk to them and they acknowledge that you're not like them, it's instantly you become aware of the way that they see life. They're not people who are good at doing things. In fact, today, while I was at the house of ill repute, I was thinking to myself, and you know, this is off topic, but as I was laying there, I was thinking, this person that's doing this job right now is a person that America doesn't want here. But simultaneously, is a position that will be missed when the mass deportations begin. Because not being able to speak English is in itself a strength for millions of people who have to do jobs that they couldn't imagine. They didn't wake up one day wherever they came from and think, someday I'm going to be working in a place where I have to oil up men for cash. But those people, if the program that it is being proposed goes into effect, you're going to lose a lot of people who are doing jobs at the very bottom. And as I thought to myself, it's like, you know what? She probably knows this, that they're going to come and take her back to where she came from. And to me, that saddens me because no one's going to take those positions. We're going to see a society where more and more people are going to be forced into roles that they otherwise wouldn't want to do. The meatpacking industry isn't going to just let itself be destroyed because no American wants to work there. The farming industry has shown that no, they can't even make prison workers do farm work because it's such hard work and they're already in prison that they won't do it. That leaves the only other way that you could get Americans into those jobs is by forcing the people who aren't working, the people that have decided that, you know what, the minimum wage isn't okay with me, and therefore I am not going to do that job. And they just find another way of making it. But again, it was just a thought that I had while I was in that room, and something was going on in the room next to me. Like I kept hearing body weight being pushed against the wall right next to me, and I heard it maybe 4 or 5 times. Whatever was going on in that room next door, it couldn't have been good. So, all right, moving on to my third and final talking point. Showing up with sincerity and a willingness to listen, share, and build together is the foundation of lasting and genuine connections. I don't know if this is something that you guys have experienced, but sincerity and willingness to listen only goes so far where you become her not straight bestie. That's what this entire statement says to me. Because building together isn't something that Susie Rottencrotch wants to do. She is an independent woman who doesn't want children, and for the most part, Susie Rottencrotch doesn't isn't exactly unintellectual. Susie Rottencrotch understands men in one way. Men go in, men go out. Men go in, men go out. That's it. Most women who believe in things like this, in this fantasy that sincerity and a willingness to listen are in their own minds living in a fantasy world. Because again, I'm the last person to be doing a video on giving advice to men because my experiences throughout my entire life have been so incredibly negative that that's why I'm making this video, because I don't believe in what this is saying. Even the title of this video, the role of bravery and confidence in creating relationships, is not very realistic. We live in a world where we'd like for it to be this way, where we don't have tens of millions of single men sitting at home right now, touching the governor because women won't go near them. And even the women that will come near you, they're not going to give you any sugar. Give me some sugar, baby. That's not going to happen. They're there to be difficult. They're there to be abusive financially. They're there to take. They're takers. And if you're like me, you've noticed that pattern from a very young age that women are takers. In fact, while I was doing the research for this video, there was another video that was recommended on in the same area of YouTube on the side, and it said AI listens to women and tells you what it thinks women are. That's a scary video that I haven't watched, but if you haven't seen it, it's probably going to be recommended along this video. I still don't know what the artwork is going to look like for this video. I'm trying to increase the backgrounds with the material of it, but the AI isn't being very cooperative. Anyhow, let's conclude this video because I got to get to the gym and I'm already 20 minutes late. So, in conclusion, I don't know what to tell you guys. As a lifelong single man that has struggled with relationships with the opposite sex since I was little, and a person that has no prospect at getting any taco anywhere in the near future, I don't know what to tell you other than the world wants you to believe that things aren't the way that they are. And I'm here making this video to tell you that being lifelong single for men is more of a default position right now than it ever has been throughout history, because men are failing to reach the basic pillars for what they need for what women want. So if you don't have the basics, you're not stable, you're you're like me, just sitting in the dark on a Saturday afternoon because you don't have anything to do, anyone to talk to, and the world has rejected you for the most part. That's where most men are. We can't just decide to change our circumstances. That's not part of the equation. You can't just decide that I'm going to stop being a loser today and I'm going to start being a winner and I'm going to start getting women. It doesn't work that way. Women won't just accept you because you won't accept your own circumstances. They know better. They know your type and they avoid your type. Women avoid me like the plague. So when people ask me, it's like, well, how do you get women? I don't. All right, that's enough negativity for one Saturday. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to let this render. I have no idea what this is going to look like once it gets done going through the rendering process. So let's hope it's good.